Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 6 of Apple TV's Shrinking, entitled Imposter Syndrome. Now, I actually have not been able to piece together why this episode was called Imposter Syndrome. Again, there might have been something I missed, which is interesting because I watched this episode twice. So it would be a pretty big indictment on me if the words imposter syndrome are uttered in this episode and I missed it. But I know what imposter syndrome is. It's the idea that you don't belong. So like if you get rich or famous or successful for whatever reason, the feeling that you didn't earn it or that you it was gifted to you. It's like the imposter syndrome is the idea of like I'm pretending to be someone who is deserving of what I have, but I'm really not. And I don't know what that's meant to tie into in the episode. I have a theory, but I feel like it's kind of a reach. The theory kind of revolves around what is the main thing that I think we are meant to understand coming out of this episode is that Jimmy and his wife, I think Tia was her name, were not the loving, happily married couple that everyone sees them as at the time of her death. And that's got to be some heavy shit to carry. You know, this guy's a fucking therapist. He has to carry some shit like this. But he's at this party at his house. Brian wanted to have this engagement party at his house. He plans to propose for real this time. He plans to propose, and then he wants to have this kind of like celebration engagement party at Jimmy's house afterwards. So that's the party that he's at. And people constantly coming up to him, sorry what happened to Tia. Oh, we loved you guys together. She was great. You're great. Oh, this is terrible. I hate this happened to you. So all of that, right? And we're seeing that happen. And he's throwing back drinks. He's getting drunk. He's like, why is he getting drunk? And it's because we see throughout the episode, intercut, there are scenes of him and Tia just going at it and looking like things are not going very well. Jimmy even shares at one point to Gabby that he felt like Tia was going to divorce him. And Gabby's like, no, that couldn't have been the case. We were best friends. I know that she wouldn't have done that. But that's what he believes. And I'm wondering if maybe that's the imposter syndrome is it's not being in a role or in a position, it's being in a situation that's not what it was. So the imposter syndrome is happy marriage. It's not a job or anything like that. The imposter is happy marriage, but that's not what he is. He don't belong there because he wasn't in a happy marriage. He was in a marriage that was, from his perspective, crumbling. So that's kind of what I think it is. I feel like it's a little bit of a reach just because of the definition of the term. I don't think the term is meant to be used that way, but I could be wrong also. I didn't, I don't know everything about the language. I know quite a bit, but like, I don't know everything. But yeah, it might be that, just the idea of like the happy marriage is the imposter. Like, I'm not in a happy marriage. I wasn't in a happy marriage. it was dying, but here I am having people, show remorse, show regret, show empathy and sympathy, and they don't even understand how bad things really were between us. So I thought that was pretty powerful, and I think it actually ties into the ending because I didn't buy the ending. And when I say I didn't buy it, I mean there's been nothing on screen to suggest that Gabby and Jimmy would have a thing for each other, or that they belong together, or that they have chemistry. And that irritated me at first. I was like, I don't buy this. Like you don't have to force a relationship between one of the main male characters and one of the main female characters. You have to force that. But now I don't think it, I gave it some time and I thought, I don't think it's about Gabby wants to fuck Jimmy or Jimmy wants to fuck Gabby. I think it's about them filling the space that Jimmy's wife left in both of them. So Gabby lost Jimmy's wife as a friend, Jimmy lost his wife. Them making out is Jimmy I'm gonna say it. Is Jimmy filling in that hole that that his wife left in Gabby, and Gabby filling in the hole that Jimmy's wife left in Jimmy. And then when I look at it through that lens, I feel a lot better about it, actually. I like it from that perspective. I don't like it from the, I hope I'm not supposed to believe that they're actually, meant to be together or a good pair or whatever. Not saying that they wouldn't be a good pair. I'm just saying it hasn't been on the screen. There's nothing that showed me that they have anything other than a business relationship that goes slightly into a friendship, not like a sexual tension kind of thing. So those are the main things about this episode that I really enjoyed. I liked them playing around with the idea of Jimmy feeling like an imposter in his not in his marriage, but in front of all of his friends, as someone who was in a good marriage when he knows that he wasn't. I thought that was really good. I thought that was really powerful stuff. Like I said, when I look back on the Gabby thing, I thought, making out with Gabby, I thought, okay, if I look at it that way, as if this is probably what it is, then I'm gonna feel a lot better about it. I'd even wager that they're probably gonna have, they're both therapists. I would wager in the next episode they're gonna have a conversation that's gonna say exactly that. Where one of them is gonna say that really only happened because we are essentially using, we're the closest person to my wife, speaking as Jimmy, we're the closest person to my wife that the other person has. So the close person to my wife is you, Gabby, and the close person to my wife for you, Gabby, is me, Jimmy. And that is why we had that connection in that time. So I feel like that's gonna be a conversation we'll see. The other thing I want to talk about that I thought was interesting is Alice tries to kiss Sean at the end of this episode. And he does the right thing. He rebuffs the advance. He even calls her a kid. He's like, you're just a kid. And all that is right. But he was giving mixed signals, dog. I don't blame Alice for moving in for the kiss. He was giving off big vibes of not necessarily that he was willing to make out, but he was being he wasn't being aware enough of how he was interacting with a teenage girl. I would, if it were me, I would watch how I would interact with someone of that age so as to not give that impression. And he was doing the opposite of that. He was very much, I don't think he was doing it intentionally, but he was being nice in a way that would make a teenage girl start to like you. And that's why I'm like, okay, you right to push her away and be like, you just a kid. But motherfucker, you gave her every reason to think that was gonna be cool. So I don't know. I'm not happy with Sean about that. A couple other things I want to talk about because there's not a lot to talk about in this episode. I like the conversation about the female version of the term, getting it up, getting your dick hard, the female version of that. They end up at Grease the Peach, which I don't think that's good. I thought it was good when Liz said juiced was a good term that was stolen by steroid users. I thought that was a funny line, but I think I feel like that's even dirtier than Grease the Peach. If you're referring to the idea that is the female equivalent of getting your dick hard and you call it getting juiced or something like that, that's dirty and funny at the same. I that's way better than Grease the Peach. That sounds like just masturbating, which is not get it up. Or do they think that's what it is? I don't know. That's not get it up. That, but that's how Grease the Peach sounds like masturbation. But anyway. What else do I have about this episode I'm talking about? Oh, gosh, of course, Paul. Paul eats edibles in this episode, and Harrison Ford, high. Both funny and informative, and accurate. He tells Brian that this party that he throws, this surprise party for the engagement, was emotional blackmail. I'm like, that is so true. Like, there's no way his I don't remember Brian's guy's name. I want to say it was like, I'm not even gonna try to guess. Yeah, like, how can that guy say no in that moment? He's literally being emotionally blackmailed. He has to say yes. He can't say no, even if I mean, I don't think he wants to, but that was emotional blackmail. I'm like, that's really true. And then he makes this like great point, and then like the next time we see him, he's like eating his tie, and Liz takes doesn't let him eat the tie. She mentions how high she also is. I thought Liz being high was funny. I was also high at the time. The first time I watched it twice. I was high when I watched it the first time. So me, Liz, and Harrison Ford are all collectively high watching Indiana Jones eat his tie, and it was a great moment for all three of us. I thought it was very, very fun. And then I like Jimmy's little vomit piano scene because it was so over the top. It kind of reminded me of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I think that was the one where he wrote the vampire musical. And I don't know, just seeing Jason Segel sitting at a piano doing that terrible singing, which was hilarious, reminded me of the vampire musical. The vomit bit was way over the top, which is how I love a good vomit bit, to be so ridiculous to where it's like you can't be grossed out by it because it's so very clearly not real. Like that's what I like, those kind of vomit scenes. The more realistic it feels, the more you'll be inclined to like, but when it's so over the top and it couldn't possibly be real, I think that makes it easier to watch, and I thought that was funny. So yeah, I think that's all I got about this episode. Again, another enjoyable episode. I liked what they did with Jimmy's feelings of guilt over people thinking that he was in a happy marriage when he was really worried he was going to get divorced. I thought that was great. I liked the idea of Gabby and Jimmy making out if it ends up being explained in the way that I think it is. If they want me to believe that them two are going to now be a couple, then I'm going to have a problem. But yeah, I thought a lot of great stuff. I thought Harrison Ford being high was great. So another solid episode. I really enjoy this show. It's funny. At the end of the day, man, like, it's an enjoyable show to watch, and like I feel like it's a show you watch, you smile while watching it. It's very much the same Ted Lasso energy, where it's just a feel good show, and like that is a very overused term, but I think it applies to all of the, like, what's his name, Bill Lawrence, who does this, and Ted Lasso. It applies to all his shit. It's just really feel good stuff. And it's just like, it's hard to be angry watching a show like this or watching Ted Lasso. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I will see you guys next week for episode 8. Until then, peace.